Hey, my name is Donna Spivey, and this is my module 12, Gifts to Students and Staff. Okay, so when is giving gifts to students appropriate? All right, so prizes are most often times the result of some kind of fundraising activity that is taking place at the school. And these prizes and gifts should be given only to students who do participate in that particular fundraising activity. The prizes should also be age appropriate and they should not change the profitability of the fundraiser at all. So, what that kind of means is we don't want to spend more on these prizes that we're giving away to the students than what we are actually taking in from the fundraiser. We also want to make sure that these prizes are purchased by the actual club or organization who is sponsoring the event. So, whatever organization or club is having this particular fundraising activity, that is where these funds need to come out of. And then also, we want to make sure that all students earn the same prize or similar prizes because, we don't want to give students different kinds of prizes because that just wouldn't be fair, especially if they do a lot of hard work raising any kind of money. It's also appropriate to give gifts to students when there is some kind of special achievement that is taking place. So again, these prizes need to make sure that they are specific to that certain event or occasion. So if there is some kind of special reward that might be given out for a math elite team, or maybe DECA Club or any kind of club, those prizes need to be specific to that event. Again, they need to be age appropriate and they need to be inexpensive. So we definitely need to make sure we keep the cost down and not go crazy purchasing bikes and things like that for students as gifts. And these gifts and prizes can be purchased with the general fund through PTA funds, with donation from parents or any kind of business organization. And then, of course, through their specific funding source within the school. So again, if there's some kind of award or prize that's given out to, let's say, the baseball team or one of the baseball players, that needs to come from the athletic funds. So when is gift giving appropriate for staff members? So really within the school, you need to make sure that your building has a committee who addresses these kinds of guidelines and is making sure that the school and the staff are following those guidelines. So some of the reasons we may give gifts to staff is because of they're having a baby, or maybe they're getting married, maybe they're retiring, maybe there was a death in the family, like an immediate death in the family. So it is important that with these special events that are taking place in people's lives, that we are still following the guidelines. One of the ways that the staff may collect the money in order to give gifts is through faculty dues that are received every year. So the faculty may put into something called the Sunshine Fund, and then these particular gifts for particular occasions will come out of that fund. These committees also should make sure that they meet at least once a year in order just to review those guidelines, making sure that the dollar amount needs to stay the same. Does it need to go up? Does it need to come down? Do they need to change the type of gifts that are being given? Within my school, we actually have a group that meets every few months to check in on those kinds of things and just to make sure that there's not something coming up that we haven't missed. Also, funds that are raised by those annual dues and that staff donation needs to um, make sure that that's where those funds are coming from. If it is a gift that's being given to a staff member, it needs to come from staff funds, if not from student funds. All right, so gifts for special occasions, again, they need to be reasonably priced. And they're usually paid for by that Sunshine Fund or any other kind of similar funds that you might have at your school. And then they need to make sure that they stick to that established dollar amount. We have that actually in guidelines in the group, so they make sure that the funds are staying within that dollar amount. Whether it's a baby shower, a wedding, a retirement, maybe you're leaving to go to another school. So just those kinds of funds and the amount that is spent. And then fundraising incentives. So definitely fundraising products might have a prize that is associated with it. And all of those gifts need to be at a reasonable cost. So they don't need to be any more than around 5% of the profit that is made. All right, so gifts for staff members. That, again, like I said, needs to be generated through staff funds, and it needs to benefit the staffs. Some of the funding can come from the general fund, but we need to make sure that it's not expensive, that it does stick to a certain amount, and that those funds are being used within the classroom if they do come from the general fund. Cash and cash equivalent prizes like gift cards really should not be given to staff members unless they're added to their W-2. So these types of gifts are taxable. So it is best just to stick to some tangible gifts instead of giving cash and gift cards. And then there are some special circumstances at times where maybe there is a family in your school who just needs some extra support. Maybe there's a staff member in the school who needs extra support. So when these kinds of special circumstances come up or arise, the principal does need to check with the district accounting staff for any kind of advice. And just remembering that, these kinds of fundraising gifts can be taxable, so it is best if that comes from PTA funds instead of other kinds of funds that may be at the school that we could pull from. It is best if it comes from PTA. And we just need to remember to try to stay out of that general fund altogether. So I hope that you enjoyed.